Hey, good morning. I'm trying to get in the habit of posting every day, so I figured I'd go ahead and do a reading. Um, and I think there's a dedication to all of the conscious creators out there, those that are working to really bring things into the world in a very conscious and aware way, using their creative endeavors as a way or a tool or a method or a path to awakening and being of highest service. So I've already pulled some cards, and I'll do a little bit of shuffling and just run it through. And I just want to say good morning. So we'll get that lined up real good. So let's start with the archetypes. And my intuition is just to keep what's already here. So we'll do that. So we have the vow, and we have the nectar. And I love it because they actually have this, these dots around the edges. I don't know how well you can see that, but this is the nectar. And this is the vow. And they both have these rings of dots around them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this is probably a lot more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So in some way, this is like, this is 2 times that. So it's like a movement or progression, possibly from this vow to the sweetness of the nectar. Since they both came out, I'll read them both as kind of the archetypes. And if you remember from yesterday, or if you didn't remember from yesterday, yesterday's reading was really about the queen as the container for our creation right now. So really being in that feminine, letting go, patience, surrender, but not feeling hurried or rushed or like there's a need to do anything in particular, because of a strong sense and understanding of self-worth and the resolve that it takes to get the right thing. And it was met by the emperor and the fool. And so these kind of masculine, creative energies, one who kind of goes out and follows his desires and makes what he wants to see happen in the world, but also has this deep inner sensitivity to him. And the fool, who is a constant creator and does it with almost like a disregard for what will happen next, just loves the act of creation and in of itself. And so there was this receptivity that was met by a willingness to follow our desires without being too attached to them. And finding that right relationship between that letting go-ness and that receiving what life has, and the willingness to step out and try things. And so today we have the vow and we have nectar. The vow. The promise. The promise, the oath, the contract. When the vow is spoken, the air shifts, karmic ties are formed, and destiny tilts on its axis. Our words and intentions have immense power. There's a reason the great mythic stories of our past often include the recitation of oaths and the mixing of drops of blood as a mark of union. The tricky part is that reciting the vow, no matter how casually, activates the eternal and unseen forces of the world. The ancestors bear witness. The laws of nature respond. These promises cannot be unsaid or forgotten, so breaking them can leave lingering complexities and loose ends. This card calls us to acknowledge the vow we are living by, consciously or unconsciously. Consciously or unconsciously, and either recommit to it or create a ritual that signifies its closure. You've been underestimating the power of your promises. When light, bearing witness to the shift toward destiny. When dark, unconscious vows, unkept promises, messy karma. Anytime the energy of a vow is present, we are in the archetypal realm of ceremony and ritual. That means time stands still and anything is possible. The nectar. The medicine, the elixir, the garden. In Hindu mythology, there is a miraculous substance known as amrit, or nectar, that contains infinite healing power. This golden nectar of sacred elixir is the drink of immortality, and like its sister substance soma, is known to activate subtle, intelligent forces that ease the mind, body, and spirit. Though esoteric, these images lead us to the central energy of this archetype, the sweet, potent, heavenly essence that lubricates our spirit back to life. The nectar card calls us to identify and relish in places, practices, people, and activities that regenerate and heal. Medicine is needed, and it comes in subtle form that you may be overlooking. Seek the most sensuous, fragrant flower in the garden you have forgotten. Don't underestimate this remedy. It is said when someone has activated the substance within, it is reflected in their shimmering eyes. When light, glowing, relaxed, subtle illumination. When dark, fixation on fixing, aggressive approach to healing. Sense the nectar within you, dripping from the crown of the head and soothing the brain. Let it drip down the spine like sweet honey. So, this deck is all about archetypes. And so the vow and the nectar can take all kinds of forms in our lives. And, they're kind of a form in themselves. And so what I'm really sensing is this, looking at our relationships and looking at the promises we've made, explicitly or implicitly, looking at the agreements that we've made with ourselves and with others, or contracts that we have with the world, and taking a moment and saying, what is still true for me? What is serving my life, my service, my work, my health at this time, and what is not? And because the nectar is actually like a threshold, or a quality that you can use as a litmus test, which is this thing sweet like honey? If it's not the nectar of your life, if it's not sweet and feeling good, if it doesn't make you come alive and feel like it's actually healing aspects, or has that potency to be healing for you, like the work is there, then there's a reason to maybe look at that vow and look at that promise. I think there can be an easy, I find that it can be easy to drop into a need to serve lots of different things. It's almost like diversifying the risk, or spreading the risk out. So if things don't work out, then I always have a fallback. Or if I end this, what will happen on the other side? And something that is sweet for us and something that is fulfilling and aligned to our destiny can be underwatered or under-nurtured, because we're having to distribute so much energy in so many different directions in order to not fail, in order to create space or leeway for the, like a safety net. And in this moment in time, it feels like there's a call to look at all the things that we have been holding on to as safety nets, and really take a chance, possibly, and do what feels good for us in our lives. And I think about, our relationship, something like an addiction, as an example. Addictions can feel really, really sweet in some ways, because they give us a sense of ease and comfort, and yet there's something in us that knows that it's not really that sweet, that it's more something that we hold on to or are in a contract with, because we don't know what to do on the other side if it's not present. This isn't for everyone. This isn't about everything. This is from speaking from my own experience. But I think about what sweetness really looks like in our life. What is this nectar? Do we know it? Can we even take a taste of each of our vows and decide for ourselves in this moment today? What is the nectar of our life? And how can we welcome in and invite more of it into our lives? And what do we need to let go of in order to do that? I really love this animal spirit oracle deck, and this morning we had the Cobra on the top, and we had the black egg on the bottom. So for me, the Cobra is it's this hyper-focused, silent, but deadly creature. And I think, and not so much about the hunting and the death aspect of it, but it is able to strike precisely and patiently in order to accomplish its goal. That could be defending itself, that could be hunting, that could just be getting close enough to give a warning shot to say back off. But there's a precision, and there's a patience, and there is a silent watchfulness that the Cobra really brings and embodies. And I think about looking at these vows and looking at a relationship. There's nothing necessarily to do right away. There's ability to sit back and to watch and to assess and to follow and to patiently wait for that right moment to be able to make choice, make decision, respond to what life brings to us, and either raise things that are good for us up, or to end or close out things that are no longer serving our highest expression. And the black egg is here, and the black egg is all about truth. So there's no truth that I can give you about your life because I don't know you in that way. And yet I can speak to the inner knowing of our truths. It's like the nectar. You can feel in that patience, in that quietness, in that steady awareness, you can feel what is more true and less true for you. Something happens in my body. Maybe I feel excited by it. Maybe I feel pulled by it. There's like a magnetism to the way that it feels. Or it just lands someplace in me that goes, like, yes. So as we're patiently, silently waiting and watching, not inactive, not sleeping, very aware. It's a very active process. We can listen for those deep truths inside of ourselves coming in relationship or response to the world around us as we're looking at our vows and looking for the sweetness in life, and to be able to make precise, precision decisions about what is for us and what is not for us. Again, being in that queen energy where we don't have to go out and make something happen necessarily. We can sit back and allow life to come to us and then invoke our emperor or full energy. Be empowered. Make the choice. Make the decision. And do it in a way that recognizes the power and the potential ecstasy or enjoyment, the sweetness that comes from living in the moments and detaching yourself from all the sense or responsibility of the outcome, and allowing what may be fearful or scary to not hold you back, to look at that in a new way. And I think about how, we have the Hangman and we have the King of Pentacles here. And so I think about how the Hangman is going to say something like, it's really about looking at things in a brand new way. And so as we're assessing our life and we're patiently looking at and getting ready to make some very precise cuts or choices and decisions by feeling into the sweetness of truth, we can take what feels like fear and turn it into something that feels like opportunity or that feels like excitement, or that feels like possibility. There's so many different things that we may label as fear or anxiety that, looked at from a different perspective, can really empower us. And I think there's the King of Pentacles for me just speaks about the wisdom of the body. Trusting your physical body. If your body scrunches up whenever you're in conversation with someone, there's something there to look at and be aware of. If you find that someone can't make eye contact with you, even though it's a moment where eye contact is really important, be aware of that. If your body kind of wakes up and feels alive and feels energized by a relationship or an aspect of your work or a creative project, or just a way or a place that you're in, you can trust that. The Hangman may also speak about the capacity to trust oneself. The capacity to trust ourselves, our bodies, enough to start to make choices from a place of empoweredness as an individual, as we look at our relationship to the collective. Our bodies are a part of a much larger natural system. And so, in this effort to take care of yourself, self-compassion, self-care, sovereignty, coming into your own relationship and your own power in the world, it's naturally in service to the whole. If you truly are listening for truth, if you truly are following the sweetness of life, if you truly are patiently waiting for the grace of life to come to you and to bring you what you need in the ways that is for you, and you're able to then make the choice and make the decisions and step in or out depending on what's necessary, those things are independent acts, and yet they are moved and shaped by a much greater whole. And so any fears around selfishness in this are things to also look at and be with. Where am I compromising or dishonoring myself in order to try to not be selfish? Is this actually of service? Is it actually serving myself? Is it actually serving those around me? And just feel into that. In your body, in the field, how are people reacting? How are you reacting? How is your body responding? How are others responding? The signs and the information possibly are all right there in front of you. And they will be. And this is really about conscious creatives. And so I think about how this just applies to how we are bringing things into the world. And I think about how important it is to have a right relationship with ourselves and to know how to navigate and be in relationship, because almost all creative endeavors require some type of relationship dynamic. And then looking at how that comes out into the world as our service, or as our creation, as our art form. So although this talks about things maybe for anyone, I think about how important or critical this is for the conscious creator. To have a right relationship with our body, to understand the patience and the distribution of our energy, and to come into a right relationship with following what is most sweet to us, even if it breaks conventions in all areas of our lives, even if it breaks our own conventions. The Ace of Cups is here. And on the bottom of the deck is Prudence. And these both cards were here yesterday. I don't want to ignore the High Priestess either, because this is all about intuitive, the vow talked about ceremony. This is a ceremonial moment. We're approaching the full moon in Cancer. There's a lot of opportunity to make decisions and choices in our lives that will shape the next few weeks, but also the months and years to come. And the ending or the stepping into vows and commitments is ceremonial choice making, decision making. And the Ace of Cups talks about an ability to do this in an emotionally mature way. Again, this isn't reactionary choices. This is actually bringing this prudence, coming in from an embodied place. being in relationship to our body and our physical material world, and allowing ourselves to feel what's happening around us, to feel what's coming up in us, and not be so attached to them, also watching our inner world, but allowing ourselves to make choices and decisions to respond to our environments, to respond to our inner states, to respond to our relationship, to respond to our work in a way that isn't based on turbulence of emotion. It's based on the ability to perceive and make sense of what is going on around us and what feels good and what doesn't feel good to us in time and also in the moments. It's quite a complex craft, and yet it's very practical. And in some ways, I think it's one of the most important creative acts that we can do. So I'll just read one more card. And this is from my Gene Keys book. It's the Wisdom Keeper's Oracle. And it uses like stories and narratives to really kind of bring points home, and it gives you some questions to contemplate. So, I'll contemplate these a little bit for myself, and then also encourage, you to do the same. So I don't know if you can see her, but inspiration. That's what the card says. So inspiration, this the 61st Gene Key, and it moves from the shadow of psychosis, so the dark or hidden state of psychosis, to the city, the highest awakened state of sanctity, through the gift of inspiration. And it says creativity is the single most important gift for drawing humanity out of its mass psychosis. My wisdom story. I was born asking why. Why were boys more valuable than girls? Why was there war? Was God a loving God? I pondered these questions during a time in my country when they were forbidden. Though I learned to keep quiet, my fascination with religion continued throughout my young adulthood. Against the will of my religiously disenchanted parents and the fanatically atheist party ruling the country, I collected every bit of information I could from my older relatives about Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism. When the new constitution passed and normal religious activities were allowed, I immediately explored Islam and Christianity. When I moved to the West, finally free to explore anything I liked, I became consumed with the study of religions, especially those that had been forbidden to me. The more I learned, the more complex the picture became. I had to know, where did these religions, myths, and archetypes originate in the first place? Why were there so many unexplained parallels between the world religions, going back thousands of years? Where and from whom did the impossible sacred monuments and temples truly come from? I turned to archaeology and was catapulted down a wormhole that challenged everything I knew about reality. My journey took me from the Bible to Egypt to Samaria to Lemuria to Atlantis and farther. I uncovered so many holes in scientific thought that I had to consider the strangest possibilities, from ancient astronauts to stargates, rainbow bodies, time travel, multidimensionality, orbs, giants, and fairies. I became obsessed with supernovas, reincarnation, the paranormal, UFOs, crop circles, and near-death experiences. Every new answer birthed a new question. People either thought I was crazy for believing certain things or for not embracing their beliefs. The pressure to understand the nature of reality became unbearable. When I finally stopped trying to get rid of the pressure and instead stepped right into it, my intellect shattered. Even I believed I was crazy. But soon I realized that most people on the planet were basically psychotic. None of us saw reality as it actually was. In that moment, I stopped asking why and was graced with true inspiration. The most spectacular art began to flow through me. I no longer need to understand reality, only to experience it directly. My gift to you. I come to say that you cannot force or predict inspiration. The muse appears on her own terms and her own timing. She enters your life as a pressure, beckoning you into the unknown, calling you inwards and back to your origins. She is not always about fun and games. Sometimes she comes to dismantle your way of thinking and to shake up your entire grasp of reality and your ability to love. To welcome her into your life, you must practice immense patience and trust. Be willing to receive your inner secrets, truth, and the mystery that is all around you. Even when you can't feel her, know that she is working behind the scenes. Don't look for spirit outside of yourself. Be spirit. Questions for contemplation. Might your certainty about a philosophy, system, or path be hiding a deeper fear of the unknown? Is it hard to relax when you can't find the answer to a big why? Try spending a period of time without working hard to understand. Have you given up on discovering who you truly are and where you come from? Are you afraid of digging too deep? Pick an unusual inquiry for yourself and go digging. Have you experienced a breakdown, physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual, that became an inspiring breakthrough? Be spirit. Look at all the things that you're tied to on this earth and patiently listen and look for what is most true, what is most sweet. And allow yourself the opportunity to explore and follow it. Make it a question. Ask a question. Why does this feel good to me? And see how the world responds. Ask a question. What am I in this for? What do I do this for? How can I do this? Why do I do this? I know she said move past questions, but sometimes it's important to start with them in order to reach an end where there's no more questions to ask and you can truly listen. Let each action that you take today be a question to the universe, and be patient enough, be present enough, be willing to be in relationship with your truth enough to hear the answer, and hear it with your whole self, with your body, with your mind, your head, your heart, your hands, your feet. Let it in. I know I will.